Okay, where to learn more about the stock market? Well, good news is you're kind of in the right place. We talk a lot about what's going on in the stock market, what's driving the behavior of the market, how to get comfortable taking risk and investing in the stock market. We talk about all those things here. When I am done, I will also link up in my stories what I think is a really good resource on familyfinancemom.com that talks about what drives the stock market. And it basically, I put together data that looks at kind of the 5 major variables that weigh and kind of impact the way the market performs. What you should know is the 2 biggest drivers of stock market performance are 1, corporate earnings. So essentially the stock market performs and share prices are determined based on investor expectations of how a company is going to perform on an earnings basis going forward. The market is always forward looking. It's always about, what is already reported and in the news is already priced into a stock. So whether or not you want to buy a stock is dependent on where you think the price is going moving forward. And fundamentally speaking, the most significant driver of stock market performance is corporate earnings. So how much future earnings do we expect this company to generate? That is the major driver of what the value of a share price is and whether it moves up or down going forward. The second major driver of stock market performance are interest rates. And so what we're seeing happen right now in the current environment, and I should also add, the driver of the market as interest rates is inversely related. So what does that mean? It means that when interest rates go up, the stock market goes down and vice versa. So over the last, call it 10 years, so the last decade, we've had a decreasing interest rate environment that has served as a very strong tailwind to market performance. Now, because of inflation, we have the Fed hiking interest rates, and that is serving as a very strong headwind to the market. And if you look at kind of market performance this year versus interest rates on US Treasury bonds, they literally move like this, right? Interest rates have been going like this, and the stock market has been going like that. So those are kind of 2 of the 5 major drivers of stock market performance. And the other indicators are in some ways combinations of that. So things like valuation ratios. So what multiple of earnings do we put on stock prices? And interest rates factor into how valuation multiples are calculated. So in that post, it gives kind of time series and graphs of like what some of these things look like, as well as what are known as correlation, measures of correlation. So how correlated are things like company earnings to the stock market? That's how we know it's a major driver of market performance, because as company earnings increase, the stock market increases and they track very closely. Similarly, interest rates are the next most correlated thing with the market on an inverse basis. So, they move in opposite directions. So if, that is a good place to start, and then just hanging out here on a daily basis, kind of learning the lingo. Every Friday, I put up a box where you can say, here's a word I've been hearing. What does it mean? There is a lot of finance kind of has its own language. And so it's one of those things where the more you kind of put yourself in the flow of the information, the more you will learn and the more confidence you will have in terms of investing in the stock market and things like that. So like I said, a great place to start is being here, asking questions. The other thing I will say too, because there's a lot of new people over the last couple of weeks, there's no such thing as a dumb question. Never be afraid to ask a question. It's just something you haven't learned before. And I am never one to be like, oh, this is a dumb question. I will never, ever, ever say that. I will also never be like, oh, I answered this question yesterday, so I'm not going to answer it again. The thing about social media is not everybody sees every single thing that I put out, and that's okay. So never be afraid to ask something that you don't already know. The reason I am here is because this is my area of expertise. This is what I have my degree in. This is what I spent my career in. It's what I've spent now more than half of my life doing and studying and practicing. So I'm happy to share that knowledge with all of you guys. All of you guys probably have your own area of expertise too, whether you're educators, whether you're a medical professional, whether, everybody has their own niche area of expertise, and we're not expected to be experts in everything. And that's one of the beauties of social media, is that you can learn from people who are. So feel free to ask kind of any questions you have as you're learning about finance, the stock market, whatever along the way.